Sunday and Victor were best of friends since they were toddlers. They really loved each other and always shared everything together to the extent of having the same profession. They were both haunters together. They haunted for animals for years, and it became clear to the villagers that wherever you find Sunday, you will surely find Victor, and vice versa. The two friends went to supply bushmeat to a very wealthy man known as Chief Alaf one day, and they were received warmly by the chief's daughter Anna. Anna served them food and palm wine and started chatting with Sunday. "You look so handsome," Anna said to Sunday. "You are extremely beautiful." "My lady." Sunday replied. They both started giggling and staring at each other with so much love and interest after that day, the relationship flourished. And a few months later, Sunday got married to Anna because Anna came from a wealthy home. Sunday also became very rich and lacked nothing a year after his marriage. His wife Anna gave birth to two bouncing baby boys. It was from one good news to another for Sunday. About a year later, Victor, who was his childhood friend, also fell in love with Susan the Orange. So they got married not too long after, but had no children. Sunday, on the other hand, welcomed another set of twins again with his wife, Anna Victor. And his wife Susan prayed and prayed, but they remained childless one day. Sunday, who felt pity for his friend's situation, decided to take Victor and his wife to a popular fertility hospital, who was famous for helping families have children in their village on getting there. The money required for local testing and herbs was too expensive for Victor to afford, but his kind friend Sunday paid for it all. Victor and his wife got tested and given some herbal drinks to take home. They were asked to return in 2 days for the results of the test. Victor and his wife went to the hospital after 2 days, and we both told that Victor's is the source of their childlessness. He has what is known as low sperm counts in the modern world. This condition means he won't be able to impregnate a woman easily. Why me, Victor cried. His wife Susan pacified him, and they left the hospital. A week later, Victor's mother came to visit them. Susan was so glad to see her mother-in-law, and as she rushed to meet her and help her with her bag, a loud slap landed across her cheek. Victor's mother shouted. Susan fell on the ground, weeping and devastated. "Mama, I am not God. I also want children," Susan said while crying. "You are just useless. I am sure your womb can only carry stones very soon. I will bring a new wife for my son." And like this, she continued to insult and humiliate Susan. Throughout all this, Susan could have easily revealed that her husband is the cause of their childlessness, but she chested all the insults and blames from her mother-in-law. She didn't want to expose her husband. Victor returned in the evening, and his mother continued the insults on Susan, while telling her son she has found him a very beautiful and fertile wife, who will bear him many children. Instead of the empty barrel he calls wife, "Mama, that is enough. I won't let you disrespect my wife in my presence as soon as the sun rises tomorrow." "Please return to your husband's house," Victor angrily said to his mother. "She has charmed my son," his mother began shouting. Anywhere she turned, too. Even the villagers mugged her for not having a child. 5 years into their marriage, still they had child. One day, Susan was returning from the market. Carrying so much load, a young boy came to help her with some of the things she was carrying. The boy's mother saw him and rushed out to pull the boy away from helping Susan. "If you need a child to assist you, why don't you give birth to one?" the woman said. Tears began to drop from Susan's eyes. One midnight, Victor woke his wife. He wanted to discuss something with her. "What is it, my husband?" Susan asked him. "I need you to do something for me," Victor replied. "What do you need? You know I will do anything for you," Susan confidently said, and in tears he continued. "I want you to have an affair with another man, so you can get pregnant." "May the gods forbid! Why would you think of such?" she angrily said. Victor proceeded to persuade her. He said it would be a secret between them and no one would know about it. Susan was so disgusted. She said she wouldn't involve herself in anything relating to fornication. She also added that when it was time, the gods will give them children. Victor argued that time wasn't on their side anymore. And according to the theist, his low spam counts would make having children very difficult. He also added that he was tired of hearing everyone blaming Susan for something that isn't her fault. Doing this would take away all our shame. Victor cried. Susan angrily left him in the room that night. Ever since then, Victor stopped eating at home. He stopped talking to his wife for over 2 weeks, and when Susan got tired of his cold shoulder, she decided to do what he wanted. If it will make you happy, I will do as you wish. Susan told him one morning he was overjoyed, and he huged her tight while saying, "Thank you, thank you." My wife Susan asked a question. What if the man I do this with comes back to ask for his child? Victor didn't know what to say. After some time, he finally replied, I think we need to look for a man that we trust, someone with upright character. And for days they thought about who they could trust to help them out. But Victor later informed Susan he thinks his friend Sunday would be perfect for this. Your friend Sunday? Susan said, disgusted by the thought of it alone. Victor claimed Sunday is like his brother, and he's sure he would be perfect for this. He also added, after all, Sunday. His wife gave birth to twins 3 times in 6 years, Susan agreed, and Victor promised to speak to Sunday. Later that week, 3 days later, Sunday tell. Victor instantly rejected. But Sunday didn't want to take no for an answer. He also threatened to commit suicide if it doesn't help him impregnate his wife. Please sleep with my wife. It is only you I trust, Victor said in tears after days of back and forth. Sunday finally agreed to help his friend. Victor excused them while his friend Sunday and his wife Susan did what had to be done. 2 weeks later, Susan was confirmed pregnant. Victor was very happy about this news, and when Susan began to grow, it became the talk of the village. After 9 months, she gave birth to a bouncing baby boy. The baby was later named Henry. But things took a sad turn after Henry clocked 2 years. Victor to beat the 2-year-old boy at any given and ungiven opportunity down, beating the boy for not eating fast enough. Susan always tried to plead with Victor by reminding him that Henry is still too young to be treated that way. But Victor would always say, Are you trying to say he is not my son? Or I don't know what is good for my son anymore. Susan is always quick to retreat. Whenever Victor gaslights are this way, as the child grew, Victor's hatred for the boy also grew. Then Henry clogged 7 Victor flogs him for playing ball without wearing slippers. He even stepped up wickedly by putting pepper in the young boy's nose. Susan did nothing about this. She was totally helpless. Henry's body was filled with various skin marks from his father, as his mother was applying ointments to his wounds. One day used the opportunity to ask her if Victor was truly his father. Susan was terrified by this question, but she quickly said, Well, why would you think of such a thing? He's your father. He corrects you because he loves you? Looked so confused as to why his own father treats him this way. Days turned to weeks and weeks to months. Henry, now 19 years of age, wanted to start an Ankara fabric business. He begged his father for some money, but he refused to give it to him. His mother promised to try her best to get him the money in 3 months, so he just had to be patient. The following week, Victor's best friend Sunday came to visit them with his wife. Susan prepared food for them, and Victor asked Henry to go get some drinks for their visitors. He returned with the drinks, placed them on the table, and left to bring some cups as he got to the sitting room. One of the cups dropped and broke on the floor. See this imbecile of a boy, Victor shouted in front of the visitors. He immediately gave Henry a slap, kicked him, and hit his head on the wall. Susan started crying. Even Sunday's wife screamed, Sunday, please, stop. But he refused and continued to kick Henry. He didn't know how to interfere. She begged him to stop his friend. And as he tried to pull Victor from him, Victor shouted, He's my son, isn't he? You have no right to tell me when to stop beating my own son. Sunday and his wife left angrily that evening. When they got home, Sunday's wife asked Sunday why he would talk some senses into his best friend Victor and stop him from abusing his son every time. Sunday cautioned his wife not to interfere in Victor's family matters any longer. "It is not our business," he added. The next day, he went back to see Susan and Henry, when she knew her husband wouldn't be around. She went with fruits and various healing medicines. She advised Susan to take the boy away from the house and maybe send him to their relatives. "Victor will kill me if I try such a thing." Susan fearfully said, who was listening to the conversation, also agreed with what Sunday had proposed. He begged his mother to let him leave, but she refused. Henry looked frustrated. He narrated how his father refused to give him money to start his trade, and now he feels very useless. And Sunday, hearing this, asked him how much he needed for the Ankara fabric business, and immediately gave him the money. With some extra change, he thanked him, and left. Later that evening, Victor saw Henry as he was talking to a man who sold Ankara in the village. He immediately knew that for to be speaking to that man, he already had some money and might be preparing to start a business. So he rushed to the boys' room and searched everywhere. 5 minutes into the search, Victor found some money under Henry's bed. Money that looked enough to start a business. He immediately started a fire in the front yard and started burning the money one after the other. Henry saw the fire and ran to the house. He saw his father burning money and ran to check where he kept the money. Sunday gave him; it was nowhere to be found. "I am finished," he screamed. He returned to the fireplace and started begging his father to stop burning the money. Victor pushed him away and continued laughing wickedly. Henry cried his eyes out as he watched his father burn the money. Helplessly, Susan returned from the market and saw a broken son, narrated what happened, and instantly told his mom he would be running away from home. He had had enough of his father's wickedness. Susan begged him not to leave. She promised to get him another money together. They went to sleep late in the night. Henry packed some of his belongings and left the house. In the morning, Susan went to wake him to cut the growing grasses in the compound, but it was nowhere to be found. He looked everywhere, for him to no avail. "Susan, where is your stupid son?" He asked. Susan, who was busy cooking, was surprised to hear this, and before she could utter a word, he started beating and kicking her, insisting she must know Henry's whereabouts. But Susan was clueless. She kept on crying and telling Victor she had no idea where their son might be. Henry, on the other hand, got to Sunday and his wife's house safely. He met only his wife at home. She received him warmly, and he narrated everything that happened. She immediately suggested he leaves the village as soon as possible, agreed, and they decided he will go and stay with Sunday's brother in the neighboring village. "You shouldn't travel today, so stay here, and very early tomorrow morning you can leave for my brother's place." She brought him food. Henry thanked her. Victor was still looking all over the house. He asked his wife where the boy got the money to start a business. From Susan lied, at first that she gave him the money, but Victor didn't believe her, and he started another round of beating on her. She finally confessed that Sunday gave the money, and after this, Victor had a clue where the boy might be. He immediately picked a cutlass and started running to his friend's place. As they were eating, Victor came in and was surprised to see him. They exchanged greetings, and he went into the room to ask his Sunday's wife about what was going on. Sunday's wife narrated everything, and Sunday reminded her he had wanted her not to interfere in his friend Victor's family affair. They argued that she couldn't just stand by and watch the entire village keeps watching the way your friend maltreats his son. "And no one has tried to do anything. I am tired of just watching," she added. Victor was still wrapping his head around the whole issue when they had a heavy knock on their door. It was Victor. He started screaming, "Bring out that bastard! Bring out my son!" Or Sunday stopped eating and ran. Inside the visitor's room, Sunday opened the door and Victor came in, looking around for his son. "Victor, your son is not here," Sunday said angrily. Victor came out and immediately started shouting at him to bring out his son wherever he was hiding him. "If you don't bring out that boy, I will expose you." Victor threatened. "Expose what?" Sunday asked, looking confused. Susan started pleading with Victor, who was smiling wickedly. Sunday tried to go and bring Henry out, but his wife blocked the entrance. "I said his son isn't here. Let him do his worst," Victor said loud and clear. "I will expose your secrets if you don't bring that boy. I will tell your wife everything, Victor continued to threaten Sunday. But you beg me to do this as a favor to you. Sunday replied, oh, almost in tears at this point, and was totally lost in the conversation. She asked her husband what he meant, but he couldn't give her any answer. You mean you only helped the friend by sleeping with his wife? Sunday's wife fired back. He couldn't look at his wife. Let me even say everything your husband slept with my wife and even impregnated her, which produced that bastard stupid boy. Sunday, wife almost fainted, believe me. Victor practically begged me to help him and his wife because they couldn't have any children, Sunday told his wife. While frustrating, so you couldn't refuse. Right? I begged you to help me sleep with my wife. My own wife. Can you also accept such? You sound like an idiot in case you don't know. Mockingly fired back, who everything that was said came out of hiding, so you are my father yet. You watch this monster. Treat your son like an animal, he asked Sunday in tears, and after that day of revelation, and Victor started drinking heavily. He became a full-time drunk, and the gist of his inability to impregnate a woman spread across the whole village. Susan left him, and he was all alone till the end of his life. What do you think later happened? Did Sunday's wife forgive her husband Sunday, or would you advise her to forgive Sunday? As for the moral lesson of this story, I would like to know what lessons you have learned from this tale. Don't forget to share this video, like and subscribe for more update.